Yesterday we talked about that fucking Avatar game. I think it's called Legends of Pandora, and how there was a critical last-minute error they found. Well, maybe it has something to do with this. Bateman, can you please take the ropes on this one?
Yes, ladies and gentlemen. Microsoft has blocked the latest Windows 11 update on PCs with Star Wars Outlaws and other Ubisoft games installed. Now, if you scroll down, they'll show exactly all the fucking games, because they said Star Wars Outlaws, and as I was reading through this, I'm like, oh fuck! Look at the very bottom. Avatar, Frontiers of Pandora, which they were supposed to have a DLC release today, and it has now been pushed back to
due to a critical error. Yeah,
it's been pushed back 2 days. A critical error. It seems like there's also a critical error dealing with Windows games that happen to have certain Ubisoft games installed. So Ubisoft is fucking up Windows. They're actually wrecking the Windows software. Now, we were talking with Nosmir actually before the episode started, and me and him were kind of on the same idea. I think what it has to do is a lot of these games are getting a lot more invasive, right? DRM is an example, right? And there's a lot of games that probably have some form of DRM that isn't like de novo anti-cheat. There's something else in there, right? A lot of games have been embedding themselves into your PC's kernel, right? There's a lot of tech mumbo jumbo. Kernel, think of it like the tiny center part, right? Obviously, that's why they call it a kernel. So I have a theory. Now, I'm not the most technologically literate person, okay? So I could be completely wrong, so take this with a grain of salt. I think it has to do with these games in particular, because it's a new trend, embedding themselves, a part of it, into the kernel of the PC, and that is what's causing the problem with the new update.
This kernel ain't big enough for the both of us.
After installing Windows 11 version 24H2, you might encounter issues with some Ubisoft games. These games might become unresponsive while starting, loading, or during active gameplay. Microsoft wrote in a help article about known issues. To safeguard your Windows Update experience, we have applied compatibility hold on devices with these games installed. These devices will not be offered to install on Windows 11 version 24H2 via Windows Update release channel. If you already had this installed and you don't want to wait for a fix to play these games, your best bet is probably rolling back the version to 23H2 for the time being. So yes, we have reached the point where Ubisoft games are now breaking fucking Microsoft Windows. Cream, I don't understand how have we gotten to the stage?
By the way, yesterday they got sued. It's again, I don't understand how this company has not had a full-fledged change. There was all that shit about how like 30% of the stockholders wanted a big change, and then that went nowhere, right? So that could have been all bullshit. What the fuck is going on at this company? Like, I don't understand how mainstream journalists, like people who can get like actual sources and not like sources, oh, I went down to a retro fucking game shop to ask them how current game sales are, or fucking Doomcock sources, right? I mean, people who actually have fucking sources. I don't know how they haven't gone in and talked to people at this company to be like, what the fuck is going on? Like, I would love to see someone like Jason Schreier basically just spend, 2 months nonstop only looking at Ubisoft, because I think he would find some fucking baffling shit, and it may actually push this company to change. Because let's be honest, none of us want Ubisoft to be shit. We don't want the studios to close down. We want them to be as good as they possibly can, right? The gaming industry is in a fuck position, and as Ubisoft has a lot of people who rely on them as an employer, right? This year has had the biggest amount of layoffs in the gaming sphere's history, all right? No year in gaming has had more people lose their jobs than this year. And it's by far, because we hit that number 3 months into the year, right? This is worse. This year was worse for gaming on paper than the crash in fucking the 80s, in like 83, when ET effectively crashed.
Oh, yeah. Good God, yeah.
This is more people affected by that than that. Obviously, the gaming industry was very much, it was a lot smaller back then. We're dealing with a lot bigger numbers now, and it does have a lot of effects, especially on AAA. it's also going to lead to problems down the line too. Let's be honest, what's going to happen to all these AAA devs who are now fired? Now they're all creating games and they're all trying to sell their games, and they're in the indie space or in AA. It clutters up everything there. You need a good mix of AAA, AA, indie, and we can't have, if all of a sudden the pyramid's being thrown off so rapidly, it's going to cause problems for the entire industry.
I'd say we're already seeing that. Yeah, here we are breaking
Great.
PCs and shit. And
That's
shit.
most volatile year for the gaming industry ever.